Hi all, welcome back to the video lecture on computer network. So in the last video lecture I have discussed what do you mean by an IP addressing, what are the mechanisms how you used to represent an IP addressing. So hope you understood what you mean by an IP address. So just have a recap. IP address is a unique address in order to identify a machine which is connected in the network layer or an internet layer in the case of TCP IP model. So two notations are there, dot and decimal notation. So in this video lecture mainly we are going to discuss the classful addressing and classless addressing. So in the case of classful addressing, so we have discussed what you mean by an address space. So the entire address space in the classful addressing concept we are dividing into different classes like A, B, C, D and E. So we will discuss what you mean by class A IP address and class B IP address and so on. So in that A, B, C classes are frequently used. In the case of class D IP address we are going to use for in the case of multicast, and the class E is reserved and it is not currently used. So the classful addressing is the concept which is discussed in the earlier stage but it's not doing. The entire history of the IP addressing which is going to focus on the concept of classful addressing. So we will discuss what I mean by classful addressing and how we can identify an IP address belongs to which class, and even the concept still we have to learn in the case of IP addressing, and the current situation also based upon the classful addressing scheme only. So coming to the concept of classful addressing, we have discussed the IP for a 32-bit address. We have discussed the IP address having the two part. One will be the network part and another one will be the host part. So I told you a couple of moments before, in the case of classful addressing we are dividing the address space into 5 classes like class A, class B, class C and class D and class E. So look into the figure, there you can see that there is a 5 classes are there. So how we can identify an IP address which belongs to which class? So if the IP address in that, look into the first class A. If the first bit is 0, then we can say that it belongs to class A IP address. If the bit is beginning with 1, then we will look into the second bit. If the second bit is 0, then we can term it as a class B IP address. Similarly, in the case of class C, how we are going to identify? If the second bit is 1 and the third bit is 0, then we can term it as a class C IP address. So similarly, in the case of class D, if third bit is 1 and fourth bit is 0, then we can term it as a class D IP address. So in the case of class C, if third bit is 1 and fourth bit is 1, then it is a class E IP address. So the ranges for the host and the IP address it will be, you have to remember the concept while in the exam point of view also. For the class A IP address it ranges from 1 to 127. 1.0.0.0 to 127.255.255.255. So till that range the class A IP address will be available. Coming to the class B, it will start from 128 to 191. So the host part and the network part it is starting from 128 up to 191 will be class B IP address, and class A it will be 190 to 223, and 224 to 239 it will be class D, and 240 to 255 it will be class E IP address. So before discussing the concept of IP addressing the detail, we have to remember one more thing. In the case of IP addressing, it will be multicast addressing supported by the IP addressing mechanism. We know that what do you mean by a multicasting? We are not going to send the packet to a single destination. We are going to send a packet to a multiple destination at the same time. So similarly in the case of broadcasting. For example, if I want to send a data to all the students in the computer science department, for example the FX computer science student, the letter label it will be all students FX computer science. So that means that the copy of the letter should be delivered to all the students those who belongs to FX computer science and engineering. So similarly in the case of multicast also. So sending a packet, we are going to deliver the same copy to the multiple destination. For that purpose, we have to use the class D IP address. And even the class C IP address we are not going to use it regularly. So frequently we are going to use the class A and class B and class C IP address. So let's now we can look on the topic of classless addressing. We have came across the meaning of classful addressing. The classful addressing, some issue will be there in the case of address depletion and less organization to access the internet. So we are going for another approach is called classless addressing. The classless addressing, rather than we are dividing into different classes, we are dividing the address into different blocks. And the size of the blocks varies according to the size of the entity. Based upon the size, we are dividing into different blocks and which address to be allocated. So for example, in the classless addressing, we are using IPv6 is an example for classless addressing. So in that, how they are going to make it easier in the phase, comparing with the classful addressing, they have made some changes. The address of the block must be continuous. In the classless addressing, the block address should be in a continuous manner. Rather than dividing a fixed address, we are dividing into fixed blocks. So the address should be in a continuous manner. And the block must have a power of 2. That means 1, 2, 4, 8 number of address each block. And the first address of the block must be evenly divisible by the total number of address in the block. So these are the slight variation they have made in the case of a classless addressing. Rather than a fixed entity, they have go for a block, and block will be divided into based upon the size, and a certain feature also they have added. That's all are the basic introduction regarding the classful and classless addressing.